This Maamar, the Alter Rebbe said on Shabbos Parshas Chukas-Balak, Bais Tammuz, Tov Kuf Samach Zayin. Shabbos was Chukas and Balak together, the 12th of Tammuz, which later became Chag HaGeula. Tov Kuf Samach Zayin would be 1807. How many years ago is that? Tov Kuf Samach Zayin, Tov Reish Samach Zayin, Tov Shin Samach Zayin. So 118 years ago. No, 218 years ago. 218 years ago. Okay. The Maamar begins on one of the psukim in Parshas Chukas. It's one of those psukim, it's very easy to gloss over. It's part of the poetry, part of the Ken Yomru Hamoshlim, what the Moshlim would say. Let me give the context. He begins Ken Yomru Hamoshlim Boyu Cheshben V'goymer Bali Bomis Arnen Hine Darshu Razal Pedek Heide Bababasra Hamoshlim Elo Hamoshlim Beyitzram Boyu Cheshben Boyu V'nachshav Cheshbeina Shalaylam Chuli. Let me just give the context so you'll understand. In the end of Parshas, towards the end of Parshas Chukas, we have the story of the war of Sichain, Melech HaAmori, against the Jewish people. Sichain, who was one of the most powerful kings of the time, comes to war against the Jewish people, and the Jews are triumphant. That's a story in Parshas Chukas. And the pasuk describes how Sichain once belonged to Moav. It used to belong to Moav, which was a different territory and a different kingdom. And then there was a war between Sichain and the king of Moav, and Sichain conquered the territory of Moav, and it became part of his territory, Sichain Melech HaMeiri. So now when the Jewish people conquered Sichain, they got really the territory that once belonged to Moav. Okay. And Chazal say, just at a Chagav, and Rashi also brings it, it's important to mention because essentially there was a mitzvah al totzeres Moav. You're not supposed to siege and conquer anything from Moav. So really they wouldn't be allowed to take this territory, but since it was already Amen Moav Tiaru b'Sichain, it became cleansed through Sichain. Since Sichain conquered it already, so it was like, it was transferred. Sichain was the mikveh, was the cleansing that the Jewish people could take it, because from Sichain they were allowed to have territory. And it was, he came to war and they won the war and they took his territory. But then the Torah does something unusual. It starts doing a whole poetry, a whole poetic. It starts waxing eloquently with poetry about that original war between Sichain and Moav. And it starts quoting poets of the time. Ken Yomru Hamoshlim. Ken, therefore, because, this is how Rashi explains it. Ken Yomru Hamoshlim, because of this story. Which story? That once upon a time there was a war between Moav and Sichain. So Moshlim, from the word mashal, those who give parables, those who speak with parables and poetry, and the poet laureates of the time, Yomru, they said, Boyu Cheshben, come to Cheshben. In other words, they told Sichain, don't worry, go fight. Cheshben was the main city, that was the capital. And that's what Moav owned. So they told the Moshlim, said to the king, go, Boyu Cheshben, go in, you'll be successful. Chazal say that it was Bilam, they rented Bilam then, and Bilam was the one who told them, Boyu Cheshben, Tibone v'Sikain and Ir Sichain. The city and the empire of Sichain is going to be built and it's going to be established. Sichain will be successful. Boyu, don't be afraid of going into the territory of Moav, even though they were powerful. And he continues, Ki eish yatsa mecheshben, because a fire came out of Cheshben, lehava mekirya Sichain, a flame came out from the capital of Sichain, achla ar Moav bali bamas arnan, and it ate up the cities of Moav, those who mastered Bamos Arnan, the great platforms and of the place called Arnan. It's basically a beautiful wording of how successful Sichain was with the territories of Moav. That's the pasuk. That's in Parshas Chukas. That's where the Maamar begins. Ken Yomru Hamoshlim Boyu Cheshben Tibana v'Sikain Ir Sichain Ki eish yatsa mecheshben lahava mekirya Sichain achla ar Moav bali bamas arnan. On this, there's a Gemara. The Gemara in the 5th Perek of Abbasid, Afayin Chesam at Bais, sees this whole piece as a metaphor for life. Where does the Gemara come to do this? So Rashi explains beautifully. Rashi says when you read it in the Chumash, you realize that there's something off here. You're talking about a war that happened between Sichin and Mayav. It has nothing to do with the Jewish story. So if you want to just mention there was such a war in order to explain how the Jews, you want to, for history purposes, you want to explain how the Jews could conquer it, Fashtech. But why are you now giving me a whole poem about the war between Sichin and Mayav that's Mechlal not Negeya here? Yeah, for example, in Parshas Chukas, you have also Oz Yasher Yisrael. They did a whole Shira, Ali Be'er Enula. That's about a story that happened to them. You have later, you'll have in Parshas Balak all the poetry of Balak, of Bilam, that's connected to the Jewish people. Here, Ken Yomru Hamoshlim, it's like you start talking about some war that happened that wasn't negayed to the Jewish people. Wie kommt das herein? It's negayed to know what the poet said then about that war. That is only an introduction to explain to you how they conquered it. So that Rashi says that's why. It's an interesting Rashi. Rashi says in Baba Basel, Ayin Ches. Pashta de Kramayri, Shekshenilchem Sichen Melech Mayav Arishin, Vayikachas Kol Artzim Miyadoi, Nisnabi Bilam V'Chaverev Sheyinatzayach Sichen Mayav. The literal meaning is that when Sichin fought the first king of Mayav and took his country, Bilam said that he'll do it, you can do it, and you'll be successful. Umiyu Parsha Yiserihi, but it's superfluous. The Mat Tzarich Likosivza. What do you need it for? Im lashmenu da amen Mayav tiru besichen hadei kvar ksivu nilchem melech Mayav arishin ve'ein tzarich yoser hilchach lidrasha kosva Moshe Rabbeinu. Interesting lashon of Rashi. If it's to tell me why they could take Sichin, because it once belonged to Mayav, it already said. It says earlier in the pasuk that he fought with the first king of Mayav and took this land. What do you need this whole Al Ken Yomru Hamoshlim? So Chazal understood that Moshe Rabbeinu wrote it for Psad Drasha. It was Al Pi Pshat that was talking about that war, but he was trying to give a whole other message. What's the drasha? This is the drasha. This is what the Maamar is going to be focused on. The Reb Shmuel said in the name of Reb Shmuel, the son of Reb Nachman, said in the name of Reb Yochanan, Al Ken Yomru Hamoshlim is Elu Hamoshlim beYitzram. Moshlim means the rulers. Who are the rulers? They rule their own Yetzer Hara. They have control. People who have real self-control. Yeah. What do they say? What do they say? They always say, Bayu Cheshbon. What's Bayu Cheshbon? Bayu v'nachshav cheshbon shalayla. You need to make the calculations for the world. That's what they say. Al Kain, Yomru HaMoshlim. The Moshlim, those who are Moshlim, they rule the Yetzer Hara, they say, Bayu Cheshbon. Cheshbon from the word of Cheshbon, a calculation, not a city called Cheshbon. Bayu v'nachshav, come, let's calculate cheshbon shalayla, the calculations of the world. Like you say, it's time to make a Cheshbon. Which cheshbon? Cheshbon shalayla, the cheshbon of the world. Bayu v'nachshav cheshbon shalayla. What's the cheshbon? So the Gemara says, Hefsid mitzvah keneged schara, u'schara v'eira keneged afseida. Every time you feel that you're losing something because you're doing a mitzvah, and you would gain something if you do a sin, make a cheshbon, calculate. The pros and the cons, the gains and the losses, the revenue and what you had to, the deficit. There's a hefsid mitzvah, you feel like you're losing something from doing a mitzvah. Whatever it is, fun, excitement, time, money, energy, resources. And the Schar HaVeira, they're always making these cheshbonos. And then they say, Tibana v'sikainen. What's Tibana v'sikainen? He says, if you do this, Tibana. If you do this, Tibana b'olam haza v'tikainen l'olam haba. This is Moshe Rabbeinu saying, you'll be built in this world and established in the next world. What's Ir Sichain? Ir Sichain is in Meisim Adam Atzme Ki Ayer Zeh Shemahalech Achar Sichana. Ir Sichain is Ayer Sichain. Ayer is a young donkey. Ayer Pera Adam Yivon. It's a young donkey. Sichain comes from the word Sicha. This is with a samach. But Sicha means a conversation. If you look like a young donkey, which follows nice conversation, because it says that young donkeys, if you don't have to force it. If you just know how to speak in a certain way, it comes over. So if you're going to be like an ayah or sicha and you follow any nice conversation, anything charming and interesting, you follow, it pulls you in, then what's going to happen? Then eish yotza mecheshben. So those who are mechashav cheshbon shalaylam, a fire is going to come out from them and it's going to eat up those who are not mechashav cheshbon shalaylam. V'lahava mekirya sichain, and a flame will come out from the tzaddikim who are called sichin. Sichin means they're plants, they're trees that grow. Achla ar mayav, this flame is going to eat up the ar, which is again the ayer, the donkey who follows every nice conversation. It's going to eat him up. Balei Bamais Arnon are the arrogant people. This is the Gemara. You could look it up at Babasat Afayin Chesam and Bais. All these psukim, it's all al pi drash. Moshe Rabbeinu was saying an ethical interpretation. So the Alter Rebbe says, Lahavinza, to understand all of this. To understand what are we talking about? Who are these Moshlim B'Yitzram? What's this Cheshboinu Shaloilam, the Cheshbon of the world? What's this idea of fire comes out? I mean, you read the Gemara, it's what's called Agadah to Gemara. Some people just read it fast. Yeah, whatever, it's saying some nice things. But Chazal, Agadah is as serious as Halacha. It's just there's a different genre. What is the whole message here? What's going on there? That's the first thing. Gam Lahav in Maamar Azal. To understand something else, the Gemara says, this is a Masechus Shabbos. Kol ha'oyna amin yehish mirabba mevarach b'chol koiche koidem like zardin shalayin shana. You remember this from second grade? Huh? What did this do to Yamin Yehish Mirabba? Huh? Whoever answers Amin Yehish Mirabba Mevarach B'chol Koich with all of his power, they tear up a Gzardin Shalayin Shana. Literally, it means if there's a decree against this person for 70 years, a decree of 70 years, like a sentence of 70 years, it gets ripped up. When you say Amin Yesh Rabbi B'chol Koich, with all your kavana, with koich means with all your strength, with all your kavana. Jacobson Chaim Simen Nun Vav Shabbos Pedic Tazayin Kuf Yutes Amud Bais. It's brought in Halacha and Torah Chaim Kuf Simen Nun Vav, where he speaks about Kaddish Amin Yesh Rabbi, and it's sourced in Mesechus Shabbos Daf Kuf Yutes Amud Bais. Why does he bring the Torah Chaim before Mesechus Shabbos? First you bring the Gemara, then you bring the Torah Chaim. So I think that in Gemara something is missing over there. Could you give me a Masechah Shabbos? I saw somebody gives a footnote. You see a Shabbos over there? You should first bring the Gemara and then the Torah Chaim. He brings first the Torah Chaim and then the Gemara. Kuf Yutes Amud Beis, yeah? Yeah, it doesn't say there's 70 years. It says in Gemara, obviously the Tur had a girsa 70 years because the Tur says it's from the Gemara. But I'm just showing you the diuk. Why does it say Tur first? You should say the Gemara first. Because the quote here is not from the Gemara. The Gemara that we have doesn't say 70 years. It says Kairin like Gzardinai. If a person has a Gzardin, they tear it up. It doesn't say even 70 years. The Tur quotes the Gemara, Kol Kisvei, and the Torah says Ayin Shana. So obviously there was a different version of the Gemara. The Gemara is a manuscript, so the different text, right? Sometimes there's different girses in Gemara. So that's the Pashtus why he brings the Torah, because he wants to not only bring out the Gzardin, he wants to bring out 70 years. We'll see why the 70 years is important later in the Maamar. So I'm just saying you should see the diuk here, and even in the Maramakim, that the Tzemach Tzedek wrote that he put first the Torah, because when Alter Rebbe said 70 years, he wanted to make sure that you have a source for that. You understand what I'm saying? To the sun, it's easy to gloss over these things, but everything is b'diuk. So what's the idea here? What does it mean to say Amin Yesh Mirabba Mevarach B'chol Koichai? What's its power? Why does it tear up a Gzardin of a person? And why 70 years? Why not 60 years? Why not 100 years? Why not 80 years? What's the diuk? 70 years. So you could say Yemei Shneishenu Behem Shivim Shana, it says, right? But also says V'migvuris Shmeinim Shana. It's a psadiyuk, obviously. And what's the connection to Amin Yesh Mirabba Dafka and B'chol Koicha? Okay, so this is how the Maamar begins, and Alter Rebbe begins the beer. Hine yesh lahagdim be'inyan yiridus hanashama beguf. Of course. So first, you have to be makdim the whole inyan of why what's the neshama coming into the body. Sheyirid tzorech aliyah kiyadua. You always go back all the way to the beginning. Always to the beginning. Blank slate. Let's rethink everything. Let's take it all apart and go back to the beginning. What's it all about, right? Don't get into the don't just get me into the details here. Go back to the beginning. Shahid, what do you say? Bereishis bara lekim and nachfardem. Nachfar bereishis bara lekim. Shahid, the tzorech aliyah. Which we know the descent of the neshama into the guf is a yirida, but it's tzorech aliyah. It's with the sake of an aliyah, of an ascent. In other words, both are important. You have to appreciate the aliyah, you also have to appreciate the yirida. When you say yirida tzorech aliyah, it means two things. First of all, you have to acknowledge that there's a serious yirida. And then you could come to the idea that it's tzarech aliyah, because if I don't acknowledge that it's a yeridah, I also will never reach the aliyah. If I'm just bypassing the yeridah, I'm not in touch with the aliyah. I'm saying this because you could just say, it's fine, we'll work it out. No, it's a yeridah. And the yeridah causes a challenge, it causes grief. But the yeridah then could bring you to an aliyah, tzarech aliyah. But what is this aliyah? What is this experience that the neshama reaches? Haloi, what's the question? It's not like the neshama previously was in some lowly state, and as a result of its journey in the body, it reaches a beautiful state. Where was it before? It was amazing. It was it was in the loftiest state. Standing in the conscious presence of Hashem, like Eliyahu says, Eliyahu Hanavi Chai Hashem, Asher Amadeti Lefanov. So Kabbalah and Chassidus explained this pasuk. I stood. It represents the neshama pre-coming into this world, where it was completely lefanov in the presence of the divine. Umisham yarda ployim, and from that space, a space of absolute bliss and absolute oneness and absolute connection with godliness, yarda ployim, it comes down, and the word here is ployim. Ployim means with a pella. In other words, it's a stupendous yeridah. It's not a relative descent. It's a descent that is quantum. It's like a quantum leap. It's not a gradual descent. It's ployim. Ployim means in some wondrous and stupendous and extraordinary way. It's a pella, how far it goes down. Lislabish b'chaymer gufni ba'olam haza hashafal. To become manifested and camouflaged b'chaymer gufni, in physical material, in a very lowly world. So two things. B'chaymer gufni means in an encasement of chaymer, a guf of chaymer, or physical material, and in a world which is ba'olam haza hashafal. And now, if somebody never touched what their neshama looks like, they can't even appreciate this yeridah. And that is what the yeridah, that is the yeridah. In other words, the yeridah is that so many people wouldn't even relate to that. That's the yeridah. That's the yeridah. The biggest yeridah is that I don't know it's a yeridah. The moment I know it's a yeridah, it's already a different type of yeridah. There's already a contrast. You can already ask a question, what's it for? The real yeridah, the real descent of the neshama is that I don't know it's a yeridah. The neshama comes down to such a place, it doesn't even know how many people touch the frequency of the soul the way it was before it came into the body. Part of the yeridah is that my whole neshama is now identifiable only in terms of what I see about it now. It's like you go on a journey and you become so connected to that destination that all of the properties of that destination attach themselves to me, to the fact that I don't even know there's anything outside of that. That's who I am. And that's the biggest yeridah. The biggest yeridah is I don't even recognize the purity, the depth of my soul. And it's not anybody's fault. The soul, it's such a successful descent. It's so successful that it doesn't only come into a place, it assumes all of those garments to the point that I start looking at myself and all I see are the garments. I don't even know that there's anything else inside. That's how powerful this lavush is. With a suit, you know that you put on a suit, you can take off your suit, you can change your suit, you could, etc. But here, it's not just malubish as two things in malubish, it becomes mamish, one to the point that I may not even know that there's something outside of it. And that's so important, because in life I need to know who I really am, who I really am, not who I become as a result of the journey, and then I can't distinguish anymore between the camouflaging, the uniform, and the essence. And here the uniform is not a physical uniform, it's a psyche. It's the whole identity that the person develops as a result of this interaction. But the Alter Rebbe says the moment you know about this soul, you know that this is a serious yeridah. Just that itself, to appreciate and have compassion for the depth of this descent of what it means. And then when the soul departs from the body, the pasuk says in Koheles, the spirit will return to Elikim, to the God, Asher Nesana, who gave it, who imbued it into the body, meaning it comes back to its source and its roots. So you're leaving just to come back. So what's the point? What do you have to leave home just to come back home? Eze Yisrin Milo, what's the great advantage in this Yerida when you're just going back to where you came from? Stay there. Everybody had a good time. It wasn't like it was a miserable home. So you ran away from the house, and then one day you make peace and you come back. It was an amazing space. So you detach it from there completely. It goes through whatever it goes through. And as I said, the biggest thing it goes through is that it doesn't know who it is. And sometimes a person could live their entire life and never touch the true frequency of their soul, the true energy of their soul. They don't even know what you're talking about. Like, I don't know what are you, what are you, like, what are you taking? You can't even understand it. Just to come back to there. All of this will be understood. And he says kolza because he means also the beginning of the Maamar. Ken Yomru Hamoshlim, and this. All of this will be understood. You've heard this before. It'll all be understood by introducing the inyan called Memala Kalam and Sevav Kalam. These are ba'atzim two expressions of the Zohar, but much of the Alter Rebbe's Torah revolves around this experience of Memala Kalam and Sevav Kalam. And in every Maamar, he always speaks, it always comes out in some different way. When the Alter Rebbe said a Maamar, he wasn't saying concepts. It was a visceral, embodied experience of a Memala Kalam and a Sevav Kalam. So there's always a different kvetch, a different beer, a different experience, what it is. Because this is really all of reality. What's the difference between Memala Kalam and a Sevav Kalam? Literally, Memala Kalam means he fills the worlds. Sevav Kalam means he encompasses, he surrounds the worlds. Memala Kalam is the and shefa, the light and the divine flow that is mislabeshes v'nitfeses b'toich ha'olamas. It's enclosed and it's grasped. It's nitfes, meaning from the word toifes, b'toich ha'olamas, inside the worlds. What does that mean? It means it's the divine energy and consciousness that is experienced and integrated within the parameters and the structure of each world. That's why it's called memali. It fills it. Just like physically, when you say the coffee fills the cup, you have to have an amount of coffee that's suitable to the cup. If you're going to pour in 6 gallons into a 7-ounce cup, it's not going to work. Why? Because these are the parameters. Sorry, you may have a lot of coffee, but this is my cup. So it has to be suitable to what it can contain. That's what it means. It's nitfas. The coffee is nitfas in the cup. Now, obviously, the physical metaphor is very, very incomplete because in physicality, it's two separate things. In spirituality, it's not two separate things. But the concept here is that it's mislabish, it's nitfas, it's suitable to the parameter of the world. And therefore, uba b'seider v'hadraga ba'olamas. And therefore it always evolves. It comes b'seider v'hadraga. There's a system, there's an order, there's a hadraga. Hadraga from the word madrega, steps. There's steps. Me'ila le'ila. From one ila to another ila. An ila means a cause. There's ila and there's alul, right? An antecedent. So there's a cause, and then the cause. For example, you have the seed of an apple tree, is the ila of the tree. And then the tree produces an apple which has seeds, which becomes, so the tree becomes the ila for the seed, which becomes the ila for the tree, which becomes the ila for the new seed. You understand? It all started off from one ila. Now here, it's not such a big deal because even an apple tree after 2,000 years has similar properties to the first one. But when you're talking about spiritual descent, each one it goes down. Every world according to its own shear, its own measurements. Until the Oir and the Shefa Eliki are manifested and integrated and enclosed in the heavens and in the earth that are physical. Lefi erkam, according to their erech, according to their container. That there should be able to be a physical heaven and a physical earth. Ubir is to explain this. It's explained in Sefer Yetzirah. Sefer Yetzirah is considered the book of creation, one of the most ancient Kabbalistic texts that there are. Rashi says in Maseches Hanan, talks about, Rashi says it comes from Avram Avinu. Some say it was written by Rabbi Akiva, the text from Rabbi Akiva. But it's considered the book that contains the secrets of creation, Sefer Yetzirah. So over there he says, Yesh b'chinas olam shana nefesh. In Sefer Yetzirah he says that all of reality includes a spectrum of three things: Olam, Shana, Nefesh. Olam literally means the world, Shana means year, and Nefesh means soul. The Alter Rebbe is going to explain Olam, Shana, Nefesh. By the way, Har Sinai Ashan, Har Sinai was on smoke. Ashan is Olam. Tzemach Tzedek brings Ashan is Olam, Shana, Nefesh. Another way of saying it is space, time, and consciousness. Olam is space, the world. Shana is time, the year. And Nefesh is soul. Any aspect of reality is a convergence of these three things. Physically too, right? Right now, you're in a specific space. You're also in a specific time. You could be in this space, but not in this time. You could be this time, but not in this space. You could have been somewhere else. And then there's the Nefesh, and there's a certain consciousness that is infusing this time and this space. I could be in this time and this space, I could be in Schlafen. Or I could be thinking about something else. There's a certain nefesh, there's the presence. Nefesh is the presence that you bring into Olam and Shana. The convergence of these three things is called presence, and it's a present. To be able to be aware of the time, to be able to be aware of the space, and to be able to be present in this time and space. Olam, Shana, Nefesh. Three things, three components. This says in Sefer Yetzirah, everything is connected to Olam, Shana, Nefesh. And here, this Pedic, the Alter Rebbe is going to devote a beer for all these three things. For Olam, for Nefesh, and then Shana. Olam, Nefesh, and then Shana. You'll soon see why he goes from Olam to Nefesh, then back to Shana. And he starts explaining. It's got with a geschmack, a beautiful arichis. Pirush. I'm going to read a little swift. If somebody doesn't understand, feel free to ask. Pirush, Olam hu koilel. What's Olam? Olam is koilel kol harikiyim, all the heavens, v'ha'aretz and the earth, v'chol gufois ha'nevrayim, the doimim tzemei Chaim medaber. And every guf, every body as B-O-D-Y, of every single nivra, doimim tzemei Chaim medaber. Whether it's the inanimate, whether it's the world of botany, whether it's the animal kingdom, whether it's the human kingdom, every single guf, every single organism, living organisms, organic material, inorganic material, the guf of a daimim, could be a mountain, could be a rock, tzemeach, every bush, shrub, tree, chai, every insect, bird, mammal, fish, whatever it is, and medaber, every human being. That's all part of Olam. Olam. So it means every aspect of the world, the physical world, the heavens, the earth, every aspect, and every guf in the Olam. That's Olam. Nefesh, hu b'chines chayis elikus, ha-mislabish b'chines b'malak ha'alaman. What's Nefesh? Nefesh is the soul. In each of them, there's divine energy. Chayis elikus, which is enclosed in them, that's called b'malak ha'alaman. V'slap shazuay de b'chines shana k'meish yizbayr. And this shidduch between Olam and Nefesh is through Shana. The hislapshus to get from Nefesh to Olam. Nefesh is the chayis elikus, the soul of it, which is mislabish in the world, and every single world, every single body. You need Shana, you need time. We're going to see why time is the bridge between Nefesh and Olam. K'moshe yizbar. Yeah. Time is of the essence, very well, pun intended. V'hinei, b'b'chinis Olam yesh gamkin chiluk madregas gavoya mal gavoya lein kates. Even in the world of Olam, there's so many different gradation states, higher and higher, endlessly. Why? Because the question is, how refined is the chaymer, the material, and the vessel of this Olam? Shakol hagavoya gavoya hu yoser ruchni umufshet min hakshama. Whatever is gavoya, when we say higher doesn't mean necessarily a higher mountain. Gavoya means, what is gavoya is more ruchni. What says more ruchni? It's mufshet min hakshama. Mufshet means it's divested from the word of pashat as b'gadav. It's divested from hakshama, from coarse materialism. That's gavoya. So you have a different type of chaymer. The gavoya means it's more refined. It's more transparent. It's more open and receptive to internal energy. Take, for example, practically, could you compare the body of a living animal to the body of daimim utzemeach? Could you compare, for example, a rock to a rock is a physical guf, it's also a guf, but to the body of a bal chai? right? In terms of sophistication, in terms of functionality, in terms of vitality. Yeah. It's a whole different grade. They're both physical. They're both physical. But you can't compare the guf of a balchai, the body of a living animal, to the body of doimim and even the body of tzemeach. The body of tzemeach is very impressive. The tree, it has a body, it's a guf. But you can't compare to the amazing qualities that exist in the guf of the chai.
I would think that's because of the camp, that's because of the natural, not necessarily because of the other.
Because the chaimer is different, therefore,
This is a result of that.
because the chaimer is different, right? It's receptive to a different flow of consciousness, right? You can have relationships with animals. Even there's deep emotions, there's awareness, there's consciousness. You see the life over there. In everything there's life, but you see it in so much more because the material is a different material. And then when you look at the guf of a medaber, what's in the body of a human being? It's so much higher than mebchinas chai. You can't compare the material, the fabric of the material of the earth, to the fabric of the rakia, the heavenly bodies. It's a whole different. It's also physical, but it's a whole different chaimer. And it's much higher than the physical elements. And then there's higher and higher. All now we were talking within the physical world, within the planet of Earth, or even outer space, but all physical. And then when you go deeper, there's 7 physical levels, there's 7 spiritual levels. They're called 7 chambers. And there's so many different levels. And every one, it's a different olam. Why? It's a different guf. It's a different type of container. How refined it is, how transparent it is, how much it's receptive to a deeper energy. So in olam itself, there's so many different levels. Because in one world itself, you have so much. Just like you have between 2 people. Different people have a different guf, yeah? Those who are very sensitive, a different type of guf, you have to know. Your blood type, your energy type, brain type, everything it's a different type of chaimer. And you have to be sensitive to that. Because different chaimer channels a different energy. It's like a different antenna. Your antenna is more transparent. It's more open. It's more sensitive. It picks up things that other people don't pick up. The same is true. There's so many different levels in nefesh. What's nefesh? The nefesh is the divine energy that flows from the light of the Ein Sof and comes into the worlds. The nefesh is completely different based on how much the keli is refined. A more refined keli, a more refined vessel, receptacle, can channel much deeper, more authentic source energy. That's what he's saying. That's how much light and soulfulness will be channeled through it. In a higher world, what do we mean a higher world? What makes it higher? A higher world means that the kalim, the body, the guf of it is more refined, it's more open, it's less concealed, it's less opaque. It can channel more of the chiyus, of the nefesh. The soul of it comes from a deeper place of godliness. For example, what's Gan Eden Elyon? Gan Eden Elyon is a world. It's an olam like our world, but it's a different type of world. What happens there? The neshamas sit and they bask and they enjoy the radiance of the Shechina. The ziv Shechina could be revealed there. Why not? Because it's Gan Eden Elyon. It's a different chaimer. It's a different type of environment. The crust of Gan Eden Elyon is a different type of crust. Chaimer, he means lefiyerech. Chaimer doesn't necessarily mean physical. Chaimer means the material of the spiritual energy. Like he said, there's Zayin Rekim Gashmim and then there's Zayin Rekim Ruchnim. You understand? Not Chaimer, it doesn't mean Chaimer that physical material. Huh? Yeah. Al derech ze heilig ha'or mishtalshel b'yedidus hamadreges rabbis ma'od. And this is what you have to understand. The or goes and evolves through many, many madregas. It comes down many steps, many levels. Ad shebov v'nimshech ha'or v'achiyus ba'olam ha'shofel b'tzimtzum gadol ma'od. Until this same or, the nefesh, can go into the lowest to the low world, but with tremendous restrictions, with tremendous filters. Vehein or v'chayis shamayim v'aretz v'amazolos hakvuyim behem. And that's the chayis here, in the heaven and in the earth and all the mazolos, all the planets. She'ein lecha esav milmato, she'ein le'maizel mamayla makabah v'melagdal. The Medrash says there's not a blade of grass below that doesn't have a mazel. That doesn't have, here mazel doesn't mean luck. Mazel means like a higher force. The mazalis are called the planets. It means there's a higher energy that strikes the blade of grass and says, grow, grow, grow. What does that mean? So if somebody's standing over a blade of grass and hitting it, it means energetically the blade of grass, it's incredible. The blade is responding to something. You know, we take it for granted. Oh, the grass knows exactly what to do. No, there's a mazel amakabah v'melagdal. It is an energy that's feeding it. There's a consciousness, some consciousness. But it's expressed in the grass, in a physical grass. This is the nefesh in the lowest space where it becomes to give life to grass. That's what it does. But it's also consciousness, it's also nefesh. Because nothing could happen, nothing could function. Especially with the incredible sophistication, even of a blade of grass. Without that nefesh, which is essentially the divine, but in Gan Eden Elyon, it's manifested different than in a blade of grass. In a blade of grass, it's expressed in the fact that the blade of grass is growing, which ultimately comes from a mazel, which comes from a deeper, deeper, deeper source. So the nefesh also has so many different levels. Just like olam has so many different levels, nefesh has different levels. Why? Because it's the oir eliki, the way it's channeled through this olam, through this world, through this body, through this experience, through this brain, through this blade of grass, through this rock, through this ocean, or through this mountain. In everything there's nefesh, yeah. Just like there's olam, everything is part of olam. It's its own world, whatever it is. Everything has nefesh. And the nefesh is consistent with the olam. V'chol b'chinas seder ishtalshel shel b'chinas ha-nefesh v'olam. B'bri yitzirasi b'bi'at meireish kol dargen atzoif kol dargen. K'may ba'asavim hagdelim me'amazel hu ha-nikra me'malek halalman. Haynu b'chinas nefesh ha-mislabeshes b'chinas olam. Ula edech b'chinas ha-olam kachu b'chinas ha-nefesh. So the summation is the whole hishtalshelus, the whole system of evolution of nefesh and olam, through bri yitzirasi, from the highest of levels to the lowest of levels, till that grass that's growing from the mazel. This is all mamalek halalman. Mamalek halalman is an umbrella that includes all of this. The entire seder hishtalshelus means the entire cosmic system. From nefesh and olam, that's memale kol alman. Memale is nefesh, alman is olam. Memale kol alman is the nefesh that fills the olam. The spirit, the consciousness, the divine energy. What does it look like? In a blade of grass, it looks like that the blade of grass functions and grows. In an ant, it looks like the functionality of the ant, or the functionality of the mosquito or the bee, or the elephant or the lioness, or the black hole or the star or the planet. In a higher olam, the nefesh is manifested in its olam, based on the keli, based on the container of what it can channel. So the whole seder ishtalshelus, that's called b'malek halalman. The nefesh that is enclosed in the olam, and it's always based on the properties of the olam. That's the type of nefesh that the olam can channel. Right. Like the electrical wires, what voltage can be channeled through this wire? What you could receive, yeah. So even though the electricity comes from a place that's unlimited, but the question is how much the olam could contain in a way that it could remain what it is. You want the grass to grow and to be grass. You don't want the grass to be a monkey. A monkey is a monkey and grass is grass. If the grass becomes a monkey, then who's going to be the grass? Yeah, the monkey may want to eat the grass, but it's two entities. Based on all of this, we'll understand why time is essential to creation. Why time is of the essence. To understand now where Shana comes in. You explained beautifully Olam and Nefesh. Everything is Olam and Nefesh. Everything is a combination of Olam and Nefesh. There's the consciousness, there's the energy, and there's the container of the energy. Everything. Like the Oyer and the Keli. Memale Kol Almin. He fills the worlds. Again, we have to explain. In physicality, when you say he fills the worlds, it's two separate things. The coffee fills the cup. The water fills the mikveh. Your keys fill the drawer. Your papers fill the drawer. The drawer and the papers are two things. When you're talking about tzruchniya spirituality, it's not defined by physical entities. So it's essentially one. Mamali just means that the teichen of the keli is the oid. In other words, they're so integrated that the keli manifests this. This is what it manifests. It's not two separate entities. It's one. What is year? Or what is a year? The concept of Shana, the third element of Sefer Yetzirah. We say in the morning and davening every day, in his tuva, in his goodness, every day he renews the work of creation. What does this mean? What's the inyan of this ischatshus? What is he asking? What's the point? You created the world because Baruch Hashem beautifully. What's the inyan of mechadish betuvi? Constant. Kihine ksiv. But the word is, the pasuk says in Yecheskel, v'hachayis rotzi v'shoif. The chayis, literally he's talking there about the malachim, the angelic beings, are rotzi v'shoif. In many Maamarim he brings this pasuk. Rotzi v'shoif means, literally, rotzi, they're coming and they're going. They're running and they're returning. Rotzi from the word rotz, or Ratzain, they're running, they're yearning, and then Shuv, they come back. They're back. Yin and Yang, back, to and fro. Ratzav v'shav. He also starts off with the word Betuvai. I don't think it was exact, it's probably not an exact quote. It's just the teichen. Because the Alter Rebbe is in the city, he says, so I don't think, he's not quoting exactly, it's just the teichen l'chayra. It's not a different nusach. Pirush v'inyan is chatshus ukinik sevachayis ratzev v'shoiv. Alter Rebbe teaches chayis ratzev v'shoiv doesn't only mean the angels, it means the whole chayis. The whole system of the chiyus of the world is ratzev v'shoiv. Just like you see in the spirit of life of a person. There's the heartbeat. Life depends on the rhythm of life. And what's the rhythm? The rhythm essentially is the union of Ratzei v'Shoif. Doifik b'liboy. You feel the pulse. The doctor wants to feel the pulse to make sure right away your vitals are fine. Because that's not stam a detail in life. It's essential. The Ruach HaChaim Shabbat, the spirit of life, is expressed in the fact that there's a pulse. And the fact that doifik b'liboy, there's the pounding of the heart, the heartbeat. And based on how healthy that is, you could know that the person is Baruch Hashem healthy. It's P'chinas Ratzei v'Shoiv. What's part of P'chinas Ratzei v'Shoiv? What is essentially the doifik halev? It's two tnuas, it's two opposite tnuas. What is it? Essentially, if you go deeper, it's the union of Ratzei v'Shoiv. Dahainu. P'chinas histalkus lachzul l'mekayre. On one level, there's a histalkus, there's a yearning to be mistalik. Mistalik means to depart, to go back to the source. And then there's a p'chinas hispashtus lahachiyas evarim kiyadua. And then there's the opposite, to extend and give life to all of the organs. One is a tnua, a movement of going away, going back to the source. In other words, taking away the life from the organs, bringing it all back to the source. And then there's the opposite tnua, which is no, shuv, go back. You have a job to do. The evarim need to live. The organs need to live. Shemizeh ba sibas hanashima. And from this comes the whole reason of breath. The whole process of neshima is also this. Inhale and exhale. The whole process of neshima, inhale, exhale, is the same thing. It's the tnuah of shuv and the tnuah of ratzin, the tnuah of ratzin and the tnuah of shuv. What says? It doesn't stop. It's a constant cycle. Chalila is like a circle, continuous. Chalila goes again and again. It's not like you do it once in a while. Shemistalik, acher shemispashet. First you're mispashet, which means you extend, ispashtus. And then mistalik. After that, mistalik, no, I'm out of here. Get me out of here. Mistalik, histalkus. Like we say, nistalkus means they depart. Then after the histalkus, I know, go back. Go back to Ispashtus. No, go back to Istalkus. V'kachu b'chol rega. And this is every moment of life. This is life. It's not like this is life. Al kol neshima. Yesh Istalkus v'Ispashtus. We say kol ha-neshama, right? Kol ha-neshama. Kol neshima. Every breath. Essentially, there's Istalkus, there's Ispashtus. It's not something that's added to life. This is the rhythm of life. The moment you stop this, boom, kaput. It's not like it's some system that was installed. The very fabric of life is based on the system. Al kol rega v'rega. What do you want to say? You could frag.
Inhale, exhale. Which one is this and which is Shav?
Oh, inhale and exhale. Which one is Ratzi? Which one is Shav?
Yeah, but this exhale.
So bepashtos.
That's why it's easier.
Ah,
That's why it's easier.
we
We learned it.
learned in. You remember which Maamar?
Breath work according to time.
We learned it in two Maamarim. We learned it in Bereshis, Torah Kasha Shamayim HaChadasha V'Eretz HaChadasha. There was a whole arichas there. And in Torah Miketz, one of the Chanukah Maamarim also. Pifa Arti Vesh Efa. Two Maamarim about it. So here he goes back to this Nekuda, yeah. But Pashtus, on a literal level, it sounds like that inhale is Shuv and exhale is Ratzi. Because when I'm inhaling, what am I doing? I'm taking in the oxygen that is going to be able to oxygenate all the cells in my body. And without that oxygen, we know after a few minutes, Khalila, the brain doesn't get oxygen, the parts of the body don't get their oxygen, it's over. Person can't live. On the other hand, if I would stay there, it's good to keep it inside a little bit, but at some point you have to exhale. Inhaling without exhaling also can't work. Why not? Take in the energy and let it be that way. You'll say, well, that's how the system works. We know that's how the system works, but there's a secret to why the system works that way. So inhaling is ispashtus. It's taking the energy inside, and actually you can breathe, and there's also exercises where you actually breathe in certain spots. You focus on a certain spot, but even if you do it, even if you don't do this consciously, the oxygen is going to be distributed to all the evarim, and that's how we live. That's called ispashtus. But somewhere in the system, the oxygen says, okay, it's time to go. It was nice knowing you. Bye-bye. Well, 1 second, I just got to know you. Stay around a couple of minutes. No. Maybe 30 seconds. If you're really good, there's those who go under the water, they hold their breath for... Houdini. But there's a whole group. There's a culture, they know how to keep their breath. They could be underwater for like 20, 30 minutes. You never heard of it? Yeah, interesting people. They learn it. So maybe 30 minutes, but with most people it's a few seconds, right? Get to know me. No, I'm out. What is this? Who lives to? Of course we know, biologically, it must be out. It got affected by the body, and now you have to release it and emit all the carbon dioxide. Now you need a whole new fresh oxygen to inhale. Alter Rebbe here reveals the pnimius of it. The pnimius of it is Ratzi v'Shayv. It's all the whole Nekud is Ratzi v'Shayv. And that's really going to be time. That's what time is. So hafla the Kabir is going to explain. The person is only a metaphor. This dugma is a dugma for the whole divine energy in Ivraim. It's Ratzi v'Shayv. V'zeu hachayis Ratzi v'Shayv. Not like people learn hachayis is the malachim. The zakoy klolus hachayis sheba'olamas. Hachayis here means the whole new type, the whole chiyus, the whole energy force of all the worlds is Ratzi v'Shayv. V'zeu gam kin b'chinas mati v'loy mati an isker beitz chayim. In Eitz Chaim, there's a sugya known as mati v'loy mati. Mati means it arrives. Loy mati means it doesn't arrive. That is Ratzi v'Shayv. Ratzi v'Shayv means I arrive, and v'loy mati I didn't arrive. Why? I'm going back. You arrived, you didn't arrive. You arrived, stay. No, I'm going back. What is he saying here? What is mati v'loy mati? It's not just about a makam to Eitz Chaim. Those who know Eitz Chaim should know that they should associate with Eitz Chaim. It's al derech. He's explaining what Ratzi v'Shayv means. Ratzi v'Shayv means that there's a paradox in existence. It's not saying that there's two tnuas. You do one thing and then you do another thing, and then you do another thing and then you do another thing, then you do another thing, then you do another. That's not what he's saying. It's much deeper. There's a paradox in existence. The way we contain paradoxes is we create two tnuas. We create a duality because we're not yet comfortable to live in paradox. So what do you do in this paradox? You say, okay, first you, and then you, and then you, and then you, and then you, like you take turns. But essentially what you're saying is that there's a paradox that's playing itself out. What's the best way for a paradox to play itself out? That when one thing is, when you're in a particular space, there's a message, something is missing, we have to do the opposite. So you go to the opposite. No, something is missing, we have to do the opposite. So, okay, we have to do, Mati, you came. No, loy Mati, I don't really belong here, so you go back. You don't belong here? Okay, so go back. No, it's not here. What is this? So this is the whole Nikuda. Because essentially, you're talking about Nefesh, Olam, and Nefesh. That creates Shana. Because the Shidduch between Nefesh and Olam is a paradox. Nefesh, what did we say is Nefesh? Nefesh is the Ein Sof. It's the light of the Ein Sof. And yet, you wanted the Ein Sof should become a blade of grass. You want the Ein Sof should become my brain, should become my cell, should become the atom that makes up this cup or this coffee bean. So essentially you're taking the Ein Sof and what are you doing? You're completely containing it and redefining it as a mountain, as an atom, as a cell, as a neuron, or whatever it is, as we spoke before. As a blade of grass, as a mosquito, as a lioness, as a beer, as a black hole, or as planet Mars. And every nekuda of the whole bria has nefesh in it, because without it, it wouldn't exist. So there's a constant paradox happening. On one hand, the Ein Sof is successfully becoming whatever it's becoming right now. Is becoming whatever it's becoming. But in it, for it to really give life to the world, it needs to be infinite. It's Hashem. So there's a message that it's pure Ein Sof. On the other hand, if you're pure Ein Sof and infinity, so then you're not limited. Yeah, you're not limited anymore. So you need to be limited. But on the other hand, if the nefesh really becomes limited, it's not channeling Ein Sof anymore. It's not the creator anymore. The creator is Ein Sof. So who am I? Am I finite or am I infinite? The answer is paradox. I got it. So what does that look like? Ratzi v'shoiv. What's Ratzi v'shoiv saying? Ratzi v'shoiv means I want to be here. No, of course I don't want to be. It's not my place. Not who I am. Okay, go back. So I go back. What are you doing here? You have a purpose. Go back. No. Ratzi v'shoiv is essentially the manifestation. Yeah. I run away from you. Evrach mimcha elech. I run away from you to you. On one hand, my the shlichus of, so if we want to use the word shlichus, on one hand, the shlichus of the Ein Sof is to go out of the tzir of Ein Sof, I'm just using words, in order to become the world. Each level, whatever it is, olam and nefesh, ad infinitum, there's so many different levels. But for it to really give divine life to the world, there's also a tenua that essentially, I'm Ein Sof. So the chayis goes right back to the source. But when it goes back right to the source, what happens? The whole world is gone. Right? You need the tzimtzum, as he says, you need the tzimtzum. So what happens? So it's sent back. So it's not just two separate things. In order for the chayis to be and accomplish what it needs to be, it has that constant paradox inside of it. That on one hand it feels this is not my place. And on the other hand, of course it's my place. That's why I'm here. No, but it's not my place. Only when it has that duality can it actually do what it's supposed to do. The moment it becomes comfortable in its space and it severs, so to speak, it's detached from its source, it's not that anymore. So for it to give existence to existence, it needs to completely come down and be integrated and focused and filtered and contracted and present. If not, it can't be present. On the other hand, the moment it becomes present to the point that it's completely content and comfortable, and this is its destination, what happens? It got to right away leave. because it's interrupting the flow. The whole power is that it's a flow. So if you interrupt that flow, right, it's like you're getting electricity. You say, oh, it's so beautiful, my mic is working. So what do we need a plug for? It's working, look, it's working. Beautiful. The reason it's working is because it's plugged in. You say, no, I'm fine, I have it all. The refrigerator is functioning beautifully. You can unplug, we don't need it. We're going to the car, let's take it into the car. Good luck, my computer is working. It's working because it's plugged in. True, it's channeling the electricity in a way that it's energizing the computer or the vacuum cleaner or the air conditioner or the mic. That's how you're channeling the electricity because of the specific wires. That's the olam, which channels the nefesh. But if you're not connected to the source, you have nothing left, you're dead. It's like inhaling without exhaling. I want to hold on to the breath. Hold on to your breath. Good luck. I'm alive. It's beautiful. I have breath. Hold on to it. The moment you hold on to your breath, it's ice breath. Not going to do anything for you. After a while, it's gonna, the life becomes the death sentence. Chas v'shalom. And this is also true about the heartbeat. What's the cause of the heartbeat? So the answer is because the heart expands and the heart contracts. When the heart contracts, what happens? The blood is released because it's contracted, it becomes small, it becomes tight. It goes like this, and that's the heartbeat. It goes like this, and the blood goes out. But if the blood goes out, because our body needs the blood circulation, so just leave it that way. Beautiful, the blood is there, let it go. It travels. Doesn't work, you're not going to be able to live. The blood all has to come back to the source and re-cleansed. It needs to be re-oxygenated from that new oxygen that you inhaled. That's why the Alter Rebbe says it's so fascinating how it all works. The blood is re-oxygenated through the inhaling, which came from new oxygen. So the blood feels the same thing. So on one hand, the heart contracts, and that allows the blood to go out and be distributed to all of the parts of the body, and the blood carries the oxygen and nutrients to every limb and every cell in your body. And you have around 50, 60 trillion cells in your body. People don't realize what these systems are like. Circulation, sure. Study circulation, see what's going on there. If you would take your blood circulation throughout the day and put it out outside, it would be like beyond. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles, and it's all working perfectly. So you're talking about the blood distributing the oxygen and the nutrients, and then what happens? The blood says, time to go back. It doesn't stop. The moment the blood stops and says, okay, we're good, we all know how dangerous that is. It's called a clot. And if the clot is in a vital place, it could be the end of everything. Why? It's time to go back. Why do you have to go back? Because if I don't go back, I have nothing to give you. You understand? If I don't go back to the source, I'm not giving you anything. Ich verkauf alte Meises. In order to give you something, I need life. In order to have life, I need infinity. In order to be infinite, I have to surrender to infinity. So I have to go back. I have to seize. Ratzah is the yearning to seize. Shuv is the yearning to be. If you're not ready to seize, you don't have anything to be. It's like not breathing. It's like when people try to do things and they don't breathe, they say, well, stop, breathe. No, I don't have time to breathe. Well, after a few minutes, there's not going to be nobody to do anything. There's no presence. So Ratzah and Shoiv is like essential. It's emotionally, it's the ability at every single moment to go back to surrender everything. It's like what we learned in the last Maamar of the Mekosher, Tavshin Yud Gimel, Eitz Chaim and Eitz Hadas. In order to have a functional Eitz Hadas, you have to always go to the Eitz Chaim. Yeah, but if you stay there, then you're betraying the purpose. Like it says, Nadav and Avihu's sin was Ratzoi b'li shoiv. That's the Alter Rebbe's lashon, how he puts it. Chet Nadav and Avihu is Ratzoi b'li shoiv. I get them. We get them. They were Gevaldik and Shabbos. What do I need a game for? I'm going to make as though I exist. Make believe I exist. And now I have to deal with everybody's politics. Just acknowledge everything. I'm a chaya. They were normal people, actually. It's still called a chet. A one-way ticket. What do you have to make yourself Meshuggah?
The left field is spring. It's actually for when you rewind the watch, before even the digital works the switch. It's the resistance of every second, which is time, that gives the time. That if we release it, it stops right there.
You're saying they released the spring. It's the resistance of every second that allows the clock to function. And that's really what time is. So this is very important to understand. And it's also in Avodah we can understand it very powerfully. What is that in Avodah? The only way you have something to give is if you're nothing. Meaning if you're bottled to the Ein Sof, if you transcend the ego. It's like electricity. The only way electricity can give me something if it's connected to the source. The moment I'm disconnected from my source and I'm something outside of God, you have nothing to get from me. There's nothing. It's fake news. It's fake energy. It's garbage. It's like a Ponzi scheme. It's like I take $1 million of you and I put it into stocks and Ponzi's that doesn't exist. So it's simply taking money and fooling people. It just looks like it exists. The only way to give anything substantial is if you're giving them life. The only source of life is the Ein Sof. So essentially, if you're not surrendered to the Ein Sof, you're not giving anything. But on the other hand, if you're completely Ein Sof, so then they can't receive anything. So what's the Eitzah to this paradox? The Eitzah is Ratzei v'Shoiv. Ratzei v'Shoiv means that in the Shoiv, you feel that it's not it. So you go back. And then when you go back, you know, but it's also not it. I have a mission, so you go back. And only then can you fulfill your mission. The only way the shuv could be a shuv is if it leads to a ratzoi. If the shuv doesn't lead to ratzoi, it's not shuv anymore. It's a death sentence. It's a trap. You hijack the energy. You stole it. You're a ganav. It's like plagiarizing. You plagiarize God. You think it's yours. Okay, you could fool the olam for a few seconds. If you're in a certain place, you could fool them for a couple of years. You understand? But the truth you won't fool. I mean, you're not going to fool not yourself. You'll fool the clipper. The clipper can fool the clipper. It's fine. Also not fooled, yeah. The Rebbe used to like saying from the Rebbe Maharash used to say, the Eberste naart men stop, the Welt naart men stop, men naart up men nicht für sich allein. Was ist the Kunst als ein Narr, naart up a Narr? God you don't fool, the world you don't fool, you only fool yourself. No, what's the big deal? One fool fooled another fool. Große Gedille. Was ist the Kunst? Was ist the Kunst? Als ein Narr, naart up a Narr. At least try to deceive a psachachem. I shaita, not a shaita. The fool in me fooled the other fool in me. Fine, enjoy yourself. So Ratzei v'Shoiv is not just two tenuas. It's one nekuda. Yutayfus, that's the dakos here. So the heart feels it. So the blood goes out, hispashtus, and then the blood says, "Sorry, time to go back." Why? No, I can't hang around. The moment I hang around and I become comfortable, I can't do anything for you. I'm killing you. So as the blood is going and giving full presence, the blood is fully present. The blood says, and right now, I'm not really here. So why are you here? Because I was sent here, and I'm here. But in order for me to be here, I have to have a part of me that's not here, that knows that this is not my place. And therefore, at the first possible moment, I go back. And then when I go back, I say, no, you have to go back. Shoiv. And the same, and this is the rhythm that makes life. So it's in the breath, the neshima, and that's what you're feeling in the pulse. When you feel the heartbeat, what is it? It's contraction, expansion. The heart contracts, the blood goes out. The heart expands, and the blood comes back in. Of course, that's the only way the blood could oxygenate the entire body, but then that blood itself needs to go back for more. What does that have to do with time? So the Alter Rebbe is mechadesh here, a chiddush nifla, that this is what time is. This is time. What we call time is really Ratzei v'Shoiv. Let's think about this for a moment. I have to give credit to Rabbi Yoel Khan because when I sat by him and she explained this to us, how to understand the depth of what Alter Rebbe is saying here. because you could just see it as just words, what is time? What essentially is time? Time drives everybody crazy. Nothing drives people crazy like time. They say there was once a teacher who asked his students, who is the greatest teacher in the world? He's the greatest. There's no greater teacher than him, but he murders all of his students. He kills every one last of them. But there's no teacher like him. He's the most amazing teacher, but he kills every student. Time. You will never have a teacher like time. Right? Rav Shanim Yosifu, what's the pasuk says? Rav Shanim Yosifu Das. Year, there's nothing like time. That's how it is. There's no teacher like time. And yet it's a teacher who kills every one of his students. He lets nobody live. Time is such a mystery for one reason. You could never hold on to it. Everything else, you think you can hold on to it. This cup, it's mine. I'll fight with you. This table, it's mine. One person, it's a cup of coffee. One person, it's a chair. One person, it's a palace. One person, it's a whole real estate estate. But it's things you think you could control. Your bank account, your house, right? Your family, good luck. Your shviger, good luck. Your wife, good luck. We think this one thinks more, this one thinks less. One thing, even shaitim know they can't control is what? Time. How do you do it? How do you control? So the old Egyptian demigods, how did they deal with this? They went crazy from it. So you know what they did? They mummified themselves. After they died, they decided they continued to live. So they were buried as mummies. They were desperately trying to stop time. Everybody's trying to stop time. How do you stop time? So one person thinks if he dies with $6 billion in the bank, he'll control time because he will live on. People have plaques, they build buildings for themselves, they create legacies, they create pirsomet, whatever it is. What is it? It's really a war on time. It's the Der Haflaga. You're building a tower trying to fight God. That's what everybody tries to do. It's interesting, no? It's a war on time. The only problem is there's no way to win this war. The second this person dies, all the money, all the plaques, all the buildings, they're irrelevant. How many people know, how many people could name their great-great-grandfather? Great-great-grandmother. And even if you could, great-great-great-great-grandfather. Now, if you would have told that person, yeah, you know that in a couple of years, nobody's going to know your name. Bismillah Shiga? At best, there'll be a edech in Wikipedia, an entry. You'll be, and what does that person have from it? So time is a very, very frustrating element because as we're talking, it doesn't get nispal from anybody. Like there's no way to manipulate it. Other things, it looks like you could manipulate it. You can manipulate people. Your charisma can capture people. You could manipulate territory. If you're a powerful person, you could conquer territory. Napoleon, yeah, all these people, Napoleon, Alexander the Great, they wanted the world. They wanted to own the world. So you conquer more. But how do you conquer time? Napoleon didn't sleep, yeah. He said he doesn't like the time when he's not in control. True. So Einstein, with his whole theory of relativity, was already trying to showing that time is not so absolute. It's not as absolute as you think it is. It's also a tool. But Hashkafa Rishayna, it's like, right, as we're talking, the time, it's really, there's something tragic about it too. Right? Like 1 minute ago, we were having a good time and it's gone forever. There's no way of going back there. And we don't have another precedent in life. You loved a particular vacation spot, you can go back. You loved fabrengen with a certain person, you can go back, hopefully. But with time, you want to become 5 years old again? Good luck. You want to be 20 again? You want to be 15 again? You want to be 2 again? Good luck. Good luck. Even the best therapist, I mean, he could, we can imagine things for a few minutes, but at the end of the day, the Zeit geht, the Zeit läuft. There's a Yiddish song, Wo seid denn weg der alte Jahren? Where did the old years disappear? It's something, psychologically, it's more scary than most people imagine. There's even philosophers who believe that it's the deepest angst in people, and one of the deepest drives in people is to conquer this. What's the emes of time? The emes of time is it's Ratzi v'Shaif. What is the message of time? Time is a very, very deep message. Everything else in the world, take this cup. This cup is only here, it's not there. But in this space, the cup says, I'm here. I'm here and I'm here absolutely. Everything in the world has a space. And what's message is, in my space, I'm real. You want to tell me that if you take a microscope, you'll see that I'm not so real? Okay, so go fantasier with your microscope. But here, right now, I am what I am. The only metzius in the world that even when it's here, it says it's not here is time. What's time saying? Yeah, it's 9:26 and 35 seconds. No, it's not. Oh, it's 9:26 and 39 seconds. No, it's not. Segitnish kein moment. It doesn't give you a moment, pun intended. It doesn't give you a moment to hold on to. Give me, what do they call it? A Kodak moment, right? A Kodak moment. Allah Shalom, Kodak. Freeze it, freeze it. Good, you can freeze the picture, but how do you freeze time? You can't. The moment you hold on to it, it slips out. You understand? The moment it's gone. Even, give me 10 seconds. I don't give you anything. I don't give you a mashu. What is that? That's Ratzi v'Shaif. That's Ratzi v'Shaif. It's essentially, that's pure Ein Sof. That's pure Ein Sof. Why do you think why do you think you need to hold on to anything? The fact that you think you have to hold on to anything is because you don't trust that you're godly. The moment you could surrender to the fact that you're infinite, you're good. You don't have to hold on to anything. Holding on is a product of yeshus. It's a product of separateness. I'm trying to prove my existence. I'm trying to empower my existence. The moment I could surrender everything, yeah.
Then you don't experience time either.
And then you don't experience time. The moment you touch Ein Sof, there's no time. But we do live in time. That's Ratzi v'Shaif. Time is the ultimate message. I'm here and I'm not. And if you think I'm here, you're going to be disappointed. And yet I'm here. Of course, this time. There's man Krishma, there's man Tefillah, the 6th in the morning, the 7th. It exists. But how does it exist? It exists in a constant rhythm where it exists, and then that very moment, it completely delegitimizes its existence. B'steifus? No. Ratzah is surrender. Shuv is the mission. Ratzah is who you are. Shuv is the mission who God wants you to be. Ratzah is who you are. Shuv is who God wants you to be. The only way you could be who God wants you to be is if you surrender to who you are. Ein Sof is beyond time. Always beyond time. Haya, Hayva, V'yiyah. Shamelech, Yud and Hey and Vav and Hey is Haya, Hayva, V'yiyah. He was, he is, and he will be. And that's why whenever you touch something that's Ein Sof, it's not subjected to the tyranny of time. It's eternal. Because it's beyond time. And that's why people who are ready to surrender to infinity are not afraid of time. They know that time is just a creation. It's just a way of formulating reality post-Tzimtzum. The moment you become detached, you need time to remind you that you're not detached. That's it. Okay, so wake up and go back. So mati v'loy mati, that's the shayrish of Zman. The split of two moments is the manifestation of paradox. You're here, and right away it uproots it. You're not here. In space, it's not so visible. I'm here and I'm still here. Time, no. You're here, 9:01. The next second, you're here. It's a different time already. What was here a second ago is not here anymore, and it will never be here again. It could be very depressing if you're in your ego. For the egoic mind, it's very, very depressing. It's very hard. No control. Give me something. Epis. So we make ourselves young. We do cosmetic surgery. We do plastic surgery. We get beautiful wigs. We do a face job. Keep me young. I'll do anything. It takes, great sages say, it's a very big... I was once speaking to an Alter Rebbe very in the He says, the greatest chachma in life is the chachma, the wisdom of how to get old. How to age. It was he was already an old man. It was a little while before he died. It was a very insightful, you don't hear that from a 26-year-old. He says the greatest wisdom in life is the wisdom of aging, how to age. How to age as a sage. The Mishnah says in Kinim, Ziknei Talmidei Chachamim kol zman shemaskinim daitam misyasheves aleim. Ziknei Ame'aris kol zman shemaskinim daitam mitarefes aleim. Ziknei Ame'aris, the older they get, the more mishiga. Ziknei Talmidei Chachamim, the more miyushev. I'll tell you a funny story. I was once invited to speak at the Yutes Kislev Fabrengen in Kfar Chabad. They have a huge Fabrengen there for many, many years. I don't know, thousands and thousands of people come. And a lot of dignitaries come, like, politicians and mayors and sometimes the prime minister and the chief rabbis. Like a lot of, interesting people come and they speak. It's like they have beautiful nigunim. It's a very nice event. So I was invited to speak there one year. The Rav of Kfar Chabad at the time his name was Reb Motel Ashkenazi. Zechroina Levracha. And he was sitting at the head table and I was sitting near him. So they told me, Lechatchil, I'm going to speak at 10 p.m. But then the chief rabbi walks in. So they had to give him a speech. And then this minister comes in. So they have to give him because everybody needs their cover. So my speech kept on getting postponed. It was already almost midnight. And Laidubim V'Layar. Now it was still packed. I don't know, it was like maybe 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 people there. But it was Chol Shadaiti. I was feeling like a disposable... disposable mikveh towel. And next, okay, this guy, okay, no. Mati v'loy mati, exactly, very good. Ich bin da, ich bin nicht da, you want me, I want. So Rabbi Ashkenazi was sitting, the whole time he was as a vertracht. I don't know how he knew what I was feeling, but he turned to me. He says, ich will dir etwas erzählen. I want to tell you something. The Rakhatshover Gon, who was known to be a very sharp person, was once by an Asifa. And there was another Rav there who they called a Rav Mitam. A Rav Mitam means, it wasn't a real Rav, it was more a government-appointed position. And comparing him to the Rakhatshover would be like, in terms of Torah and Allah, would be comparing like a squirrel to a human being and maybe even more. And both of them were speaking. So this Yid, he liked himself, but he knew that the Rakhatshover is of different realms. So he told the Rakhatshover, when it came time, you speak first. The Rakhatshover said, no, you. He says, that I should speak before the Rav. The Rakhatshover, you first, I come second. The Rakhatshover says, no, you speak first, I speak second. He says, why? The Rakhatshover says, Pashat. The Mishnah says in Kinim, the Talmidei Chachamim, the older they get, the more wise they become. Amei Aretz, the older they get, the more crazy they become. He says, Du bist a Vister am Aretz. The more we delay your speech, mehr Meshuggah wirst du sein. So you're going to speak more nonsense. He says, Ich bin a Talmid Chacham. The further, it's more Yeshuv Adas. Besser du red erst, red about deine Narrigkeiten und Stussen. And then I'll speak afterwards. So Rabbi Ashkenazi tells me, he says, the fact that they're pushing off your speech is a siman that they consider you to say, nicht von Ziknei am Ya'aretz. Not bad, huh? Yeah. What's the oimeka inyan? The sageness of ageness, that's good. The sageness of ageness is very, very deep. Because it's really bittul. It's really surrender. You're not fighting life. The greatest mistake people make is we fight reality. Fighting reality is a form of fighting God. It's really fighting yourself. It's fighting the Ein Sof. And it makes sense. As long as life is about control, of course time is going to kill me. Either I'll kill it, or it will kill me. And usually it kills me before I manage to kill it. One of the most powerful things in history is you read the stories of tyrants, dictators, a person like Stalin, right? And when they were alive, the dread and the fear of these people it expanded to hundreds of millions of people. There was a knock on your door middle of the night. People couldn't sleep for 40, 50 years because of that knock that they might have. And then the time of the tyrant comes and he's dead. And it's like, boom. It's the contrast of history. Everybody gets their time. It's over. So either I'm going to kill time, or not I'm going to kill time, that we do. I'm going to kill the time, or time is going to kill me first. Usually that's what happens. Chai la'ad v'kayam lanetzach. Right? The source of time is eternal. Chai la'ad v'kayam lanetzach. Nobody's going to defeat it. But the idea of real aging is the surrendering to the truth, the higher reality of infinity, of Ein Sof. That's what real bittul means. And then you become a channel. Once you become a channel, time is not a prison, time is a destination. Time is Ratzei v'Shoiv. It means something, it's serving a purpose, it's a tool. Time is a tool. But that's only without an ego. The moment you wrestle existence from God and you want to own it, so now time becomes a metzias, because that's our metzias. And then you're stuck. And then you're just fighting it your whole life. That's the idea of kedushas hazman. When you mekadesh Yisrael v'hazmanim, when you sanctify time, what does it mean? It means you acknowledge that time is a vehicle for avodas Hashem. It's a vehicle for Ein Sof. So the time itself is sublimated. The Rebbe used to say in the Sichos an expression as the Rebbe is to geben Ayid balabatischkeit of Zeit. Ayid is a balabos of Zeit. A Jew is a balabos on time. The whole idea of Mekadesh Yisrael v'hazmanim, we make Rosh Chodesh. You take time and you say, this is holy time. We do it. Bezdin says, this is Rosh Chodesh. That means Tesvav Nisan is going to be holy. Tezayin Nisan is going to be Chol HaMoed. It's going to be an Isser Chametz. You take time. Where do you come to control time? You make time. B'sta balabos of Zeit. But that's the idea. The Gemara says, Mekadesh Yisrael v'azmanim, we don't say Shabbos, Mekadesh Yisrael v'azmanim, we say Mekadesh HaShabbos. So why Yom Tov we say Mekadesh Yisrael v'azmanim? So the Gemara explains in Maseches Beitza and Maseches Brachas that Shabbos is Mekadesh v'kaima. Shabbos is holy on its own. 7 day comes, it's holy, you like it, you don't like it. Yom Tov is not that way. We make Yom Tov. If Bezdin didn't say this is Rosh Chodesh, Yom Kippur is not going to be on the 10th day. Yom Kippur would be the next day. So who made Yom Kippur a holy day? The Jew. So on Yom Tov we say Mekadesh Yisrael v'hazmanim. Hashem was Mekadesh Yisrael, and then they could be Mekadesh Zman. Yisrael inu de Mekadshinu l'zmanim. What does that mean? That means essentially that Hashem gave Yisrael, He gave them His kedusha that they could go into time and sanctify the time. They make the time holy. Where do you have access to time? Nobody has access to time. It's an elusive reality. All we can do is live in time. That's all. If you're stuck in the prison of ego. But the moment is thinking of Mekadesh Yisrael, so you're a balabas on time. And the reason is because you don't have to be a balabas on anything. If you have to be a balabas on anything, you can't be a balabas on time. The only way you could master time is if you surrender all mastery. Then you're good. Then you're beyond time to surrender. Very good. Yeah, Haisef Yom Echad Midaita, yeah. Haisef Yom Echad Midaita, yeah. Same. It's true. It's true. But just like Shuv without Ratzi is a mistake, Ratzi without Shuv is an equally powerful mistake, and sometimes much worse, because it looks holy. Ratzi could also be ego. It's a different type of ego. It's a holy ego. Ratzi it's a beautiful ego. It's not of an aviyu. It's a different type of sin. Shuv without Ratzi is the human ego. Ratzi without Shuv is spiritual ego. It's a pasmanish. Well, why should I do the dirty work? The blood says I'm not going back. Why should I contaminate myself with everything? You know what's going on in that body? It's messy. It's tafasnisht. It makes sense. Wants to stay. Bekarvasim l'fnei Hashem v'yamusu. Bekarvasim l'fnei Hashem v'yamusu. So time, really, if you look at it, time is the cosmic heartbeat. If you put your hand on your heart and you feel that heartbeat, right? If you do it with a child, a newborn child, it's something very regulating about it, right? It's regulating, right? You feel the pulse of a child, you put the heartbeat of a child in. It's like that purity, that innocence. It's like, why is it so regulating? Why is it regulating? You would think, on the contrary, it shouldn't be regulating. It's constant movement. It's regulating because it's the sign of life. It's hachayis ratziv v'shoiv. It's going. There's a rhythm. That is regulating. Sometimes the child will put his head on the heart of the mother, and their heartbeats connect, and they co-regulate each other. Essentially, the heartbeat that you feel in yourself, the cosmic heartbeat, is time. The moment you can tune into time as Hashem's heartbeat, it's a very regulating thing. Think about it. We're afraid of time because we don't see it as the heartbeat of life. We just see it, another day is wasted, another year, another day. Because you're not present, right? That child, it's very regulating when you feel your heartbeat. You could do it on your own, you'll see. It's silence, and you breathe into it and you feel the heart, right? The heart opening, the heart closing, the heart opening, the heart closing, the heart opening. That's what it's about. The heart opens physically, and then it closes. It opens and the blood leaves. It closes and the blood leaves because it's tight, and then it opens and the blood could come back. And then right after that, boom, it closes again. It's like it's time to leave, time to come back, time to leave, time to come back. The heartbeat of the whole planet is time. That's the heartbeat. Essentially, that's the heartbeat. It's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You could put it differently, right? There's a moment, that's now, this moment, right now. A second later, the chayis of now goes away. It's a new chayis, of course, a new moment. How does Hashem express the fact that the chayis of the moment had to disappear, go back, and everything is new? That's time. That's what time is. Time is a demonstration of God's heartbeat. Just like we have a heartbeat, He has a heartbeat. It's called time. You understand? That's why it's mechadish betuvay ma'aseh bereishis. What's that? Why? That's ratziv v'shoiv. If it wouldn't be ratziv v'shoiv, you don't have to be mechadish. Send the energy, let the blood go. Just like our blood goes out, stay there. You inhale oxygen, stay there. Hashem, you created a world, boom. No. The moment is not mechadish. In other words, it's not ratziv v'shoiv. The system dies. Because the energy is not in flow anymore. It's disconnected. The only way for it to be connected is that it's pure Ein Sof. The only way for it to be pure Ein Sof is that it always goes back to Ein Sof. It doesn't become comfortable being finite. And yet it has to be finite. So what does that look like? That's Ratziv V'Shev. That's Mechadish B'chol Yom. That is what Zman is. Yeah. Running rivers don't freeze. Beautifully. And that's what they say in the winter. Put on the faucet. You're a plumber. Put on the faucet. Let the water flow. So the pipe hopefully won't freeze. So that's the rhythm of life. So now we understand that Shana is the shidduch between Nefesh and Olam. Because Nefesh is Ein Sof, but it has to go into Olam. It doesn't stay Ein Sof. It has to go. If Nefesh would stay in Ein Sof, you don't need Zman. But since Nefesh goes into Olam, so the bridge between Nefesh and Olam is Shana. That's the only way that Nefesh can become Olam. That's the only way. I just want to read Maamar 3 lines just to finish the sentence, and then we'll take a break. You see? We're by the mati v'loy mati. V'zeu gam kim b'chinas mati v'loy mati. V'zeu inyan, the line starts, V'zeu gam kim b'chinas mati v'loy mati. Samach he column 1. V'zeu inyan ayis chatshus. Hachayis kamayim mechadish b'chol yom tavad ma'aseh bereishis. Sharei kol rega mistalek hachayis arishan. Every moment, the first chayis departs. V'choyze v'nimshe chayis chadash mimkoiroi. V'kachu tomid b'chinas ratziv v'shoif. Every moment, the chayis of now is gone. That's what it is. Just like bites by a person. The breath that you just inhaled has to leave. And what happens now? Inhale again. Every rega, kol neshim and neshim, and the same is true with the heart. And a new chayis comes. This is a mashal of how it's by Hashem kevayachal. The chayis of the moment is gone, it leaves, and a new chayis comes. And by the way, the chayis of the moment takes with it everything. That's why, we're not going to get into this, but I'm just going to say it, that's why the only way to live really is now. The moment you're out of now, you're not alive. It's not like you're doing something wrong. You're dead. You think you're alive. You're not alive. The only way to live is now. Only way to live. That's the only way to live. The moment there's no now, the moment I'm not now, I'm life. I'm faking it. I'm using some form of life, and I'm just manipulating it. Yeah. Who says that? I saw it somewhere. Beautiful. V'chai sham. Sham teik for aschem. If you're living sham over there, that's the burial. That's a death sentence. Beautiful. Because what does it mean to live now? To live now means this is the heartbeat of now. It's like I'll say I'm not going to breathe now because I breathed an hour ago. Nobody does that, right? I'm going to keep my heart. I'm not going to contract my heart because I have blood already. But psychologically, we do that a whole time. I'm living from yesterday's oxygen and living with yesterday's cheshbonos. It doesn't mean you shouldn't reflect on what happened yesterday. And it doesn't mean, right, if I need to buy a suitcase because I'm flying somewhere tomorrow, I shouldn't buy a suitcase. We're not talking about that. Hachana for a mitzvah means you're preparing for something. You prepare for a bris, you prepare for a chasana. But it's now. I'm living completely now. It's full presence. It's a different way of living. It's hard because you have to surrender. We want to control life. So I think if I plan the future and I live in the past, it's a way of controlling, like you figure things out. The problem is when you figure things out, there's no spontaneity. Right? It's like the one who said, now we're going to have spontaneous dancing. Life is spontaneous. That's what it is. That's what it really is. V'zeu inyam b'chinas shana, ki shoyrish, listen to this, ki shoyrish is havus hazman, hu mitzad b'chinas hamshachazu. The source of his havus hazman, the source of creation of time is this inyan, this hamshacha. Sha'achiyus nimshach b'chinas ratzi v'shoiv, shu istalkus v'hispashtus, v'ayidei zen is havus man regal derech mashal. From this paradox of istalkus and hispashtus, this is what creates his man. Al derech mashal ki aidei sha'achayis ratzi v'shoiv harei muchrich liyus sheyuz man ma, because since the chayis is ratzi v'shoiv, that creates man. There has to be some time, ratzi and then shoiv. Umitzad ribui b'chinas hayischalkus hachayis leb'chinas madreges rabis ma'oid v'chol b'chino madrege miprati madreges ela nimshach adei ratzi v'shoiv l'chein mishava l'kach mishava azman k'may shehu atzleinu. This is 200 years before Einstein. You see what he just says? He says the time that we're familiar with is only our version of time. Time is much, much deeper than what we're familiar with. The way time manifests itself in our world is because the chayis comes into so many madregas, and every madrega has ratzi v'shoiv. So b'meile, the way nefesh comes into our olam, it translates in zman the way we understand zman. But if you go in a little deeper place, there's also Zman, based on the Ratzi V'Shoiv of that world. Yeah. Everything is relative, yeah. The story with the Baal, the story of the Baal, everybody lives in a different time. Kvitzas Haderech is this. The moment you go to a higher frequency of time, the moment you go to a higher frequency of Chayas, the Ratzi V'Shoiv is completely different, the Zman is completely different. The whole story with the Baal Shem Tov and Derech Mitzvah, he sent a letter. And the person who got the letter found it 15 years later, and that's when it was all happening. And he got an answer in the spot. The Tzemach Tzedek says no. He says in Olam HaYitzirah it's 15 years faster. It's not. We call it a moifus. It's not even the idea of a moifus. I mean, it's a moifus, but the idea is the moment you go to a higher plane. Right, it says, Elef Shana Beinecha K'yom Esmal. 1,000 years is like a day. What does that mean? Even if you take a spaceship and you go the speed of light, time is completely different. You can have two people, born the same day, have a bris on the 8th day. 50 years later, one guy is 50 years old and one person is a Sach Inger. You put him into a spaceship, this kid, he went the speed of light, everything is different. And that's in our world, that's in our physical world. Because the point is that Zman is a reflection of Ratzi V'Shoiv. The way it translates Ratzi V'Shoiv in our world, so it translates as Zman. In other words, what's Ratzi V'Shoiv? It's the combination of Nefesh and Olam. But that depends what Olam there is. In a higher Olam, it's a different type of Nefesh. So the Ratzi V'Shoiv is different, so the Zman is different. But in the Nekuda of Zman is Mati V'Loi Mati. Ratzi V'Shoiv. The way it manifests, those are the last words. Since there's so many levels of the Chiyus and so many Madregas, and every Madrega comes through Ratzi and Shoiv, so therefore time happens like it happens by us. Physically, there's a moment and then there's another moment. In a higher Zman, it's not Gashmi. It's not there's a moment and then there's another moment. It's a Tnua of yeah and no, yeah and no. How do we relate to yeah and no? We can't, because we don't deal with paradoxes. So what do? We do 901, 902. We make up pshara. But that's not Zman. Zman is not 901, 902. Zman is that 901 is 902. 901 knows that it doesn't really exist. It's a hachana. How do we deal with paradox? We can't have yes and no in the same thing. You are or you're not. I don't know. So we do 901, 902. You split it. Yeah. Yeah. I'm here and I'm not here. And when I'm here, I'm also not here. In other words, there's a nekuda in me that says that you're only here, not that you're here or you're not here, that you're not present. You're only here because you were sent here. This is not your essential place. You're not stuck. That's the difference. When you say you're here and not here, it doesn't make you could think, so that means that you're not present. You're always running away. You're not running away. Fakert. The only reason you could be really present is because you know that this is not your real place. You were sent here. So you don't get stuck there. The reason I'm not present is because I'm trying to control something. I'm afraid of losing something. So my mind is somewhere else. When you're in a place of complete surrender and you're in the Ein Sof, so wherever you are, you could be fully there. In other words, Ratzoi helps the Shoiv be much more successful. You could have a real Shoiv only because you have a Ratzoi. So you could be there fully, you don't have to worry, you could be fully present. You're not losing anything. Why is it so hard to be present? Oh, you have to do this, I'm in a control mode. The fact that you feel that this is the place and you could control it doesn't allow you ever to be here. I always have to second guess myself. Only when I could go to a place of Ratzai, you can also go to a place of Shuv fully, without any hesitation. When you're in a place of full trust and surrender, wherever you are, you could be fully, you fear. What are you afraid of? Yeah, whatever has to come back will come back. Whatever doesn't have to come back, let go. Let go. What are you worried about? You're trying to control things again. Just tune in, life. Like, don't worry, God is not disappearing. Whatever you need for real is going to be here. And whatever you don't need, you never needed it. So what are you worried about? Just be present. It's easier said than done because our brain likes to control things. Ratzei and Shoiv is a very vulnerable reality. So the Alter Rebbe finishes the last words here. By the way, you see here in the parentheses, he says before, that's the Maamar we learned in Bereshis. I referenced it before, so you see he references it here. That's a Machzadik always, any Maamar, it's like he always references any Maamar that speaks about whatever the Maamar is. So like we learned also, Binyan Tshuva Kadma Lo'ilam. We also learned this Maamar, Mikael Kamoicha. It's one of the Rosh Hashanah Maimarim, Asar Simei Tshuva Maimarim. Tshuva Kadma Lo'ilam. He says, what's Tshuva Kadma Lo'ilam? This Inyan. That Hashem is L'maylam and Azman. What's Tshuva? Tshuva is going into a place that's L'maylam and Azman. So of course you could do Tshuva. The whole problem is, I say, I made crazy mistakes last year. I made crazy mistakes for 50 years. I was so meshuggah for 40 years. That's all in the world of Zman. The moment you go beyond Zman, it's not limited. And then you could fix everything, even retroactively. So tshuva kadma la'olam means, tshuva comes from a place that's pre-olam. If it's pre-olam, it's pre-ratziv v'shoiv. If it's pre-ratziv v'shoiv, so then it's pre-zman. If it's pre-zman, you could fix everything. That's what the idea of tshuva is. And then even the sins could become mitzvahs, because mitzad al-mailam and azman, what happened 40 years ago is not 40 years ago. It's right now.
If you live
So that's the idea of that Maamar. So we read Kamasha Kasa Binyan Tshuva Kadma Loilam. It's a Maamar Mikael Kamaycha. You can hear it online. Mikael Kamaycha. We learned it. It's a very, very deep Maamar. The whole Inyan is that Tshuva Kadma Loilam. Tshuva is tuning into this space. It's not his focus here. He's just giving him out of makim to this sugis in other places in the Likkutei Torah. It's the Maamar Mikael Kamaycha Nesav Ve'Vid Al Pasha. Anybody has any questions? What's the practical? What's the practical process of how to surrender to this? It starts off with 5 minutes a day. It doesn't start 24 hours a day. It starts with 5 minutes a day. Because 24 hours a day is a lot of time. The time won't surrender so easily. But 5 minutes, you could tell the time, just give me 5 minutes. Afterwards, you'll take over. 5 minutes a day. It's the ability to be able to be present and breathe and really surrender. What happens is, you could try it. You could try it by davening or any time of the day. Morning is always better. You sit with presence and the thoughts come in and say, well, usually it'll come in if you're a Jewish Ashkenazi man. You have nothing to do? You have nothing to do? There's a bank, there's a bill, there's this, right? And once you say, okay, 5 minutes, I'm not going to Hawaii for a year. I'm going to be available in 5 minutes. The bank is not closing in 5 minutes. Trump is not retiring in 5 minutes. Things are still going to be around. So then it's going to put in responsibility. But you didn't daven yet, you didn't learn yet. Your kids need this, whatever it is. It always has a way of hijacking the mind, and to really be able to watch all of those thoughts, and just like literally do what we do with our oxygen, like just let it go, like surrender it. Wow. What you do with your breath and what you do with your blood, do with your thoughts. Like let it go, just let it go. And just come back to the self, come back to the core of the self. And what's the core of the self? The core of the self is not defined by anything. It's not defined by time, it's not defined by space. If you could do this 5 minutes a day of really being present with your internal rhythm, with your internal core, and allow the thoughts, just as disturbing as they are, surrender them to the source, which is Hashem, just surrender them. We get more and more comfortable living in that space. And the more you live in that space, actually, the more responsible you'll be when you have to be responsible. Because there's less anxiety. The more ratzah you have, the more shuv you can be. Like if right now I need to take my kid to the doctor, or I have a dentist appointment, or I need to take care of something with the telephone company, or with whatever it is, all the physical things that people have to do, big, small, serious, not so serious, you can actually be fully present because it's not controlling you. Like, yeah, now I'm showing up, this is part of my mission and I'm going to do it. Now I may do the laundry, now I may cook dinner, now I may clean the bathroom. Now I have an appointment to go to, whatever it is. I have to take care of some accounts. I have to take care. You could be fully present without the stress and the anxiety that the world is slipping away, that time is slipping away. There's never enough time. I never have enough time. Whoa, one second. Right now, there's millions of things that happen for you to survive that God is doing you're not even aware of. Okay, so like just relax. Like it's like as though we own this world and we own our time, and there's never enough time. Never enough time for what? Never enough time to live the life that I think I'm going to control through my ego. Yeah, there's never enough time for that. You're right. For that, you need like 29,000 years, and we don't have that. But you know what? There's enough time. There's enough time for me to do what I'm supposed to be doing now. There's enough time. How do I know? Because I'm alive. For me to do what I'm supposed to be doing, of course there's enough time. And if right now that means to be able to sit with my child and talk or play a game, so that's it. Be here. What else is there? Right now it's to put on tefillin and put on a talis, put on tefillin and daven. So be here. And right now it's to be able to help somebody, so be here. And now it's be able to listen to somebody who maybe has a challenge and I can help, so be here. V'chuli. Makes sense? But don't start with a whole day. Start with 5 minutes a day. 5 minutes a day, it's presence. It's real presence. Now the thoughts don't like this. I'm telling you, they attack fast. They don't like it. It's not an easy place to be because the ego wants to control, which is normal. It's normal. It takes a lot of bittul, but this is the truth of life. This is where existence happens. It's hard. You have to give up control. I'm saying it like it's giving up, but at least 5 minutes a day, give up control. The rest you won't. Fine. Slowly. Slowly. Was sagt er?
You basically do every moment what needs to be done at that moment without needing the outcome to be a certain way.
Yeah. Beautiful. It's showing up every moment to how I should be showing up this moment without needing to control the outcome and anxiety over what happened in the past or what might happen in the future. It's a very, very deep way of living. It's much more presence, but it takes much more surrender. And there's a part of the mind that's not comfortable with that. It's like, no, of course you should plan. Of course you should be anxious. You know what happened yesterday. You know that this. And it makes sense. It makes sense. We always, to be in Ratzei V'Shoiv is a lot of bittul. Because it really means that I don't exist. It's very hard to say that. I do exist. What, I don't exist? You know how many years I'm trying to work on my existence? Just give it up? Ratzei V'Shoiv means you actually don't exist. And then you can actually exist. When you realize you don't exist, you can actually exist. You could be a normal person. When you could surrender your existence, you could say, okay, now what do you want? Oh, you want me to exist? Fine. I'm happy to exist. Oh, you don't want me to exist? Okay. I'm happy not to exist. Everything, Ratzei V'Shoiv means every moment you're ready that everything should be taken away. And you're fine. Nothing will be taken away. You're going along, we'll go with the flow of time, which is rooted in the flow that's beyond time. You could, nothing will really be taken away from you. The moment you realize, what's the whole Nikud of Chassidus? The whole Nikud of Chassidus is Einaid Mulvade. What does that really mean? Emotionally, what does that mean? It means this. It means, listen to this, okay? Nobody and nothing can ever take anything away from you in a serious way. That's what it means. Nothing can ever be taken away from you in any serious way. Nothing that's really you. Nothing that's really you. Yeah, I know you could take away my suit, you could take away the mic, you could close down my website, you could steal this, you could steal that, I know that. And other big things, I know much bigger than money. But anything that's really, really, really you, nobody and anything can take away. Sit with that a little bit. That's serious. Now, what would if you could feel that, what would your life feel like? Pretty liberating. You say, what do you mean? Well, you have a wife, you have kids, you have parnasa, you have so many things that are prayer. What do you mean nobody? Hashem could. That's because we're busy fighting with God a whole day. When they realize of Einoid Mulvade means, yeah, nobody, nothing could really take anything that's really yours away from you. That which is not really mine, oh, was never mine. Yeah, of course. But that, you know how much surrender that takes? But in that place of surrender, you have everything forever. Nothing can be taken away from you. That's the real you. That's the real you. That's the real you. Now, that doesn't make you not love people, because now I'm not going to attach myself because I don't want to be connected to anything. That's the Buddhist way. You go away from everything. Hifakert. Now the shuv becomes more powerful. Now you could love freely. Now you could love uninhibitedly. You could love freely. It's complete security, complete confidence. You could be a leader. You don't have to be a makabel. You're not dependent on people's approval and I like you if you're going to like me. And you could really, really love. I don't know exactly what I'm saying, but it's true. That's the truth. I don't know exactly what I'm saying because my mind is telling me stop hacking a chainik and stop talking about things that you don't understand, nobody else understands, and you're just driving everybody crazy for no reason. Huh? It's not something you could know. It's something you have to experience. So I don't know exactly what I'm saying, but I know that it's true. How do I know it's true? I don't know. I know it's true. I don't know how I know it's true, but I know it's true. Because whenever I have a moment of real connection, I know that that's where it is. So I know it's true. I've experienced glimmers of it. I haven't experienced it, but it's a very deep place. But we can't always live that way, right? It's It's the Alter Rebbe's flow of consciousness, you could see. So we live in the ego. Let's face it, we live in the ego. We live in control. You're right? Don't take my coffee like it's mine, and I'll kill you, right? You know what I mean? We all live in that, at least many of us live in that space, but we could begin the process of opening ourselves up to it, and the more we train ourselves, the more we could really go into it. At least, kol chad from shura delay.
We could always refer back if we ever had an experience of it.
And you could always refer back to it. Yeah, so it's a place where really, that's what really Einaid Mulvadi means, that the true you, nobody will ever be able to take that away from you, including you can't take that away from you. Right?
People try to get there and try to control their experience of themselves.
Yeah, there's no control over there. There's no control. There's no control. So really, it's every moment showing up the way I could show up right now at this moment. And in an hour, I'm going to show up very differently to the moment. And it's full presence with that moment. It's very, very regulated. There's like an internal... Go back to that child and feel the heartbeat. You'll see how regulated that is. That's what it is. That child lives in that space unconsciously. Because, he doesn't have a bank account yet. And he doesn't have an ego yet. So he lives in that space. Hopefully he'll always be able to live in that space. But we get older and we go into a place of control because I have to be vigilant. I don't want you to stab me. I don't want you to stab me. I want to be an accepted person. I want to find comfort. So we go into a different space. But that's really what it says in Tehillim, right? What does David HaMelech say? Unbelievable pasuk. One of my favorite psukim in Tehillim, where he says he's like a child. But what's the beginning of the pasuk? Im loy shivisi v'daimamti nafshi kegamul alei imay. Right? And what does he continue? Kegamul alei nafshi. Im loy shivisi v'daimamti. I'm in a space of shivisi, of uniformity, of equality, v'daimamti, completely regulated and silent. Nafshi kegamul. Gamul is like a suckling, a baby that nurses. Alei imay. So here you have a king, right? The most powerful person in the nation, and David was a powerful person, but in a way he was like a little baby nursing. Gamul alei imay. Because he knew who he was. David was Malchus, Bittel. Right? He knew who he was, and didn't take away from the fact that he was so powerful. Adarabah. He could be so powerful because it wasn't his ego. If I'm supposed to be a king, I'll be a king. Was rest in the spall. So gewaltige chidush harim in Parshas, I think Parshas Shmois. So he says that it says in Medrash that when Shmuel Hanavi appointed Shaul to be the king, so Shaul said, "It's not for me. It's not for me. I'm not." He was an onav. He was a real humble person. So Shmuel was told to tell him that you shouldn't be so arrogant. And then it says a medrash in Shmois that when Hashem called out from the snet to Moshe, "Vayomer hineni." So what's hineni? Hineni lekuhuna, hineni lemalchus. I'm here. I'm ready to be the Kohen Gadol. I'm ready to be the Melech. So Hashem says, I don't understand. Moshe is on of my Mikol Adam Ashal Pnei Adam. He says, I'm ready to be the Melech. Hineni. Then Hashem said, no, I'll tikrav halaim. It's not for you. Whatever. And Shaul says, I don't want to. And he says, stop being arrogant. So he says, a moide de kavart. He says, Shaul HaMelech thought being a Melech means that he's a Melech. So he said, who am I? I'm not a Melech. He says, the Malchus is not yours. It's your shlichus. Yeah. So what are you being arrogant and saying? No, it's not me. That havamin, that's the arrogance. You understand? Moshe Rabbeinu said, "Hineni lekun, hineni lemalchus." The hammer says, "You want me to be a hammer? I'll be a hammer. You want me to be a melech? I'll be a melech." Why suddenly does malchus change? That you think that suddenly this became yours? He's a hammer and he's a melech. True, a melech doesn't look like a hammer. A melech, there's a nail and there's a hammer, right?
As the Maggid, what's the answer for Rabbi? So there's no answer for it.
Yeah.
So there's someone that could do actions of shiftless, but in his heart it's all because of God.
Yeah. Yeah.
And someone that's
Beautiful.
massive of God.
Where does the Maggid say this? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so you understand that. It's very powerful, the Magazine. They asked him, what's the eitzah for arrogance, for Gaivas? He says, there's no advice. You can have a person who behaves in the most humble way, but it's fully arrogance. He's doing it in order to feel good about himself. And you have the person who behaves in the most arrogant way, but he's fully humble, because he's just a channel.
And then it continues, so the only answer is just David Hashem, that you should take away from you. But this itself is the answer.
The eitzah is, yeah, huh? Right. The only eitzah, he says, is davening to Hashem to be in the right space, right? That was his advice. In other words, the moment you think you're going to be humble and not arrogant, that's the problem. Yeah, just let go. It doesn't do with you. It's hard because part of the wounding of a person is that I have to always figure out where I am. You have to have a lot of security to surrender. Surrender is the opposite of giving up. I mean, we use the word surrender as giving up, but it's opposite. Surrender here means plugging into the electricity. Giving up is the opposite. Giving up is just like whatever, just there's no hope. Surrender is the idea of I took out the plug because I thought my mic is working on its own, and then I realized it's not working on its own, so I put it back in. No, I don't need you. I have my own electricity. Okay, good luck. So you put it back in. That's surrender. You acknowledge that the power in this mic is just from the electricity. The mic is beautiful, but without the electricity, it's kaput. So I can acknowledge that my whole energy and power is the source, and I plug in. I'm here. That's surrender. That's a beautiful thing. It's not giving up. On the contrary. Yeah, giving up is just like give up. Like I'm Jewish. Like there's nothing here. It's worthless. There's no life actually. Huh?
I'm leaving it unplugged. That's giving up.
I'm leaving it unplugged. And I don't believe that the plug has anything that can give me anything. This mic is so damaged. The mic is so broken. You could plug it into 100 times. It's dead. So what should you plug it in for? Just throw it out into the garbage. Let all the mice enjoy it. What do you have to plug it in for? That's what giving up is. Surrender is the opposite.
The exact opposite of giving up.
Complete opposite. Surrender comes with joy. There's a lot of joy in surrender. There's a lot of bliss in surrender. The frequency of surrender and the frequency of bliss are right near each other. They overlap. Because it's like you become a channel for the flow. So it's very beautiful. It feels good. It really feels good. That's the best proof that it's real. The greatest proof is you see what it does for you. You settle down. You're not obsessed. You're not obsessed. You don't have this dibuk inside of you that eats up everything.
Regulates the nervous system.
Surrender regulates the nervous system, yeah. Only if it trusts. If it doesn't trust, it won't regulate the nervous system. Meaning if a person is in a jungle and being attacked and there's bullets everywhere, and you just say surrender, it's stupid advice. No, don't surrender. Fight back, run away. Right? That's where you need to be present in a way, understand the danger. So what? You could do it in a surrendered way, but I'm saying when we're talking here about letting go, you have to be able to be in physical safety to be able to let go. If a person is punching me, that's my point. Huh?